If the ATF can't track firearms that it trafficked to the cartel members in Mexico, how do you expect them to track a firearm that they never even really knew existed to begin with? There's been a lot of talk in the media about the term ghost gun. Now, you might be asking yourself, what are they and do they even exist? Because it sounds kind of scary, right? Well, today I'm going to be telling you why ghost guns don't actually exist, because there isn't really such thing as a ghost gun when you think about what the term originated from and why they use it. So today we're going to be talking about the concept of ghost gun, what they are, what they aren't, and why it doesn't actually really exist. So you might be asking yourself, well, Reno, is this 3D printed Glock frame a ghost gun? Well, I'm going to say no. Is this AR-15 lower that was milled from an 80% a ghost gun? Again, I'm going to say no. Is this unfinished 80% Glock frame a ghost gun? Again, no. Is this AR-15 lower that I 3D printed in the state of California? Is this a ghost gun? You know, I might sound like a broken record here, but I'm going to say no. Let's talk about why that is the case and why there isn't actually such thing as a ghost gun. The common thing that you might have seen in the media, many people talking about, are things like these. These are the Polymer 80 Glock frames. These are something that can be converted to be made into a firearm at someone's own home if you have the technical skills and the knowledge of how to do so. This is the common thing that people are going to call a ghost gun, that or a 80% AR-15 lower, because in most states, you can have these shipped straight to your door. In the state of California, as of today, you can still buy these without any background check and have these shipped to your door. In many states, like the state of California, you have to apply for a serial number prior to building something like this. But the term ghost gun, why did that come up? Where did it come from? Well, the term ghost gun implies that there is some sort of live gun, like maybe something like this Glock 19. This gun I bought from a gun store. This has a serial number on it. This gun was registered to my name when I bought it in the state of California. Now, in many states, when you buy a firearm, you go through a background check through a federally licensed gun dealer. You fill out a form called a 4473, and your firearm, which has a serial number on it, is then yours, but there's no registration. And why does that matter? So these live guns, as I'm going to refer to these, store-bought firearms, these are what the ATF and what the media and the politicians are saying are traceable, trackable. Because there is a tiny little number on this firearm, it is automatically safer. This gun, they say, is trackable, traceable by the ATF, and if you wanted to do a crime with that gun, they would be able to figure out who owns that gun, right? Well, that's not actually the case. Let's talk about ATF tracing of a firearm. So let's say a firearm turns up at the scene of the crime. They don't know who did the crime, they just see a firearm and it has a serial number on it. You might be thinking to yourself, well, great, we got him. Sign it up. John Smith from downtown LA or John Doe from Texas. You're going to jail, right to jail. We know you use this gun. It's not how it works. Here's what would happen if this Glock 19 was found at the scene of a crime. The ATF would call Glock and say, hey, Glock, we want to know where you sold this firearm. Who has this firearm? And then Glock would say, well, we sold that firearm to this big wholesaler. Then they go and call that big wholesaler. The wholesaler says something like, oh, hey, ATF, you're looking for that Glock? Well, let me look through our records. Looks like we got it in on this date from Glock, and we sold it to John's Gun Shop down in Alabama. They then call up John's Gun Shop in Alabama. Alabama John here, he says, well, oh, that gun, it looks like I sold that to John Smith at around this time after I got it from big wholesaler. You might then be thinking, oh, great, now we know that that person who he sold it to, you got him. No, that's not really the case. In most states, it is legal to sell your privately owned firearm to someone who you have no reason to believe is a criminal or mentally ill. If you think that they are, for some reason, a danger to themselves or others, or a prohibited person for whatever reason, you can't legally sell it to them. The term ghost gun, the reason they call it that is because apparently this gun can't be traced. And, you know, this gun, if it turned up at the scene of a crime, you're not going to be able to find out who has it. Whose gun is that? How did they get it? How did they do the crimes? Is it that person that owns it that did the crime, or was it stolen? You might be thinking, well, with this gun, we definitely know all the answers to those questions, right? Well, no. You actually have no idea, for the most part, who actually committed the crime, even if you found the firearm. In most states, if I were to say, hey, John Smith, I would like to sell you my firearm. I'm a private citizen. You're a private citizen. We both live in the same state. I want to give you my gun. Here you go. There's the money. Great. That can happen any number of times in any number of states. Now, let's say John Smith moves to another state where this is also still legal. He can then sell it to Jane Doe in that other state. There is no way to actually trace a firearm, even if it has a serial number. The ATF, during Operation Fast and Furious, sold many firearms, many illegal fully automatic firearms, many 50 BMG firearms to the cartels. The ATF sold firearms to people they knew to be cartel members who were trafficking guns south of the border, and they couldn't figure out where they went. They lost track of all the firearms. They couldn't figure out where they went. They don't know who has them. And eventually, some of those firearms, which the ATF helped traffic into Mexico, turned back up in America. Some of them were found at the scene of crimes where Americans were hurt because the ATF lost track of those guns. So if you're saying that you think that these can be traced, you're wrong. These firearms cannot be traced. If there is not a registration of every single firearm in America, you will never be able to solve the ghost gun problem, because by calling this a ghost gun implies that there is some sort of firearm that is traceable and trackable. Currently, there is no way to actually know that just because a gun turns up at the scene of a crime doesn't mean it was stolen. These firearms, if someone was wanting to, do some sort of illegal stuff, all they would have to do is find someone with a clean criminal history. And this is something that many gangs have actually admitted to doing. They have someone whose job is their only job is to have zero affiliation with the gang and buy guns. They have a clean record, do whatever they want, they buy a fuck ton of guns, and then at some point, somebody breaks into their home and steals all their firearms. Those guns are now ghost guns in the same exact way that people call these ghost guns. You could file off a serial number, make it impossible to identify where that gun originated from, and it's the same thing as a firearm that is so spooky and scary as someone just manufacturing a firearm in their own home. There is no such thing as a ghost gun, because saying something is a ghost gun and that it's untraceable implies that any firearm and all other firearms that you buy from a store is traceable. If this gun showed up, yeah, you could probably pretty easily identify this specific gun because of the specific way it is, and I have documented this on YouTube that this is my firearm. Other than that, there isn't really a way for anyone to just come across a normal gun like this or like one of these. There's no way for you to actually identify where that firearm went along its course of journey of ownership. If the ATF can't track firearms that it trafficked to the cartel members in Mexico, how do you expect them to track a firearm that they never even really knew existed to begin with? I don't know. You tell me. Ultimately, I'm of the opinion that the term ghost gun is just another thing. They don't want people to have the means to build firearms in their own home. Ultimately, you won't actually be able to stop people from building firearms in their own home. These 3D printed AR-15 lower designs are actually pretty neat, very strong, very durable. If you want to know more information about how I 3D printed one in the state of California legally, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. But when it comes to ghost guns, I'm of the opinion that the term is made up, doesn't exist, and is just to make people scared. If they can push ghost gun control, they can push all sorts of other stuff. I think it's going to be one of the big things that they try to target, even though it's not going to have any real effect on violent crime. Criminals have always and will always get firearms illegally. The nice thing about 80% firearms is it allows people that are into the hobby to tinker with and fiddle with and build a firearm at their own home. Anyone that wants to do real crime is going to be able to get a hold of a firearm regardless of whether or not it was a ghost gun or a live gun. If you learned anything out of this video, if you like what I'm talking about, if you want to see more things like this, if you want to look at more of my videos about 3D printed or ghost guns, especially in the state of California, let me know. Drop a comment down below, drop a like, subscribe, all that jazz. You guys know the drill. Have fun, be safe, stay dangerous. Peace.